Okay, welcome to another edition of Hucks on Pucks. I'm your host, Kyle Huckins, and we're talking hockey. I meant to do a video for the trade deadline. I just couldn't find the time, so just did a written one really quick. And we're going to start in the Western Conference. They start tomorrow, so, well, actually, by the time I upload this, it'll be later tonight. But anyway, we're going to start off with number 1 versus number 8, Chicago Blackhawks versus the Minnesota Wild. Yeah, I'm really not liking Minnesota's chances here. Chicago sport one of the best offenses in the NHL. Minnesota have the worst offense in the Western Conference playoffs. Chicago really doesn't give up a lot of goals. Minnesota hardly get strafed, but they do give up their fair share. Now, Minnesota, they were leading their division for a while. They were playing well, especially with the additions of Parise and Suter, but really trailed off towards the end. It's not the deepest team. They don't score a lot. And, like I said, they're not a terrible defensive team, but they're not as good as Chicago. And specialty teams, believe it or not, Minnesota do have a slightly better power play than the Blackhawks. It's actually been the Blackhawks' only real weakness this year is their power play hasn't been all that good. Then again, what they do 5-on-5, 4-on-4, it hasn't mattered. And, I mean, the last two Cup winners, the Kings and Bruins, had abysmal power plays and won a Stanley Cup. So, if you can get away with being bad at one. Chicago's not even really bad on the power play; they're just kind of mediocre. You would just think, between how much they're scoring and just the level of offensive talent that team has, that they would power play be a lot scarier. But no, Minnesota's power play has actually been more effective. And actually, power plays being good shouldn't be a shock. You know, Ryan Suter last year was in Nashville, and he was a big part of why they had top power play in the NHL. They're not near the top this year, but they are marginally better than the Blackhawks. Unfortunately, the Blackhawks have a much better penalty kill. So, other than a slight advantage on the power play, also Minnesota's one of the better face-off teams in the league. Probably due quite a bit to the addition of Zenon Konopka, who last year in the playoffs for Ottawa absolutely destroyed the Rangers in the face-off circle. So, they can win face-offs. They've got a slightly better power play, but the way the Hawks aren't playing as good as they were the first half of the season, but that was unsustainable. They were indestructible. So, I'm definitely picking the Hawks to win this series. It's just a matter of how many games. Yeah, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to call this one a sweep. I just don't think Minnesota have a substantial advantage of any kind. That they could... You know, it's be one of those, if they had a bunch of disadvantages, but they had one clear advantage, that if they could exploit that, they'd be fine. Minnesota just... There really isn't anything they do significantly better than the Blackhawks. I said the Hawks, they're not as hot as they were in the beginning of the season. But Minnesota's actually been stumbling quite a bit lately. So, yeah, I'm going to call this a sweep for the President's Trophy winners. Sorry, Land of the Thousand Lakes. But you still have a pretty good team and a lot of young talent on it. I think things are going to go better for you next year. Okay, now we're on to the 2-7 matchup. Ducks, Red Wings. And this is one of those, oddly enough, one of the closer matchups in the playoffs. They let in the exact same number of goals. Ducks only scored 12 more. Penalty killing is almost exactly the same. However, the Ducks are really good on the power play. Detroit's a decent power play team, but the Ducks are lethal. And really, neither team has a great penalty kill. So, I give Detroit a chance, but they gotta stay out of the box. Granted, they do have Pavel Datsyuk and Henrik Zetterberg. You don't really have to worry about them gooning it up. Detroit also is lucky that Anaheim's defense is rather thin. I mean, they've been getting great goaltending from Hiller and Fast, but that's not a great defense at all. They can be exploited. Detroit also have another advantage in that they're markedly better in the face-off circle. You know, puck possession can mean quite a bit. And don't get me wrong, I'm still leaning very much towards the Ducks. Mostly because that top line is just terrifying. You know, Detroit have a solid all-around forward core, but Zetterberg and Datsyuk, you know, they're getting older. They're not what they used to be. You do have the mule Johan Franzen, who's usually pretty good this time of year, but I don't love their forward core at all. I will give Detroit the nod on defense. Goaltending, honestly, let me see something really quick. Maybe I give Detroit a slight edge there, but I wouldn't. Yeah, I'm not calling that one for Detroit entirely. In fact, I'm going to call this one for the Ducks, but I think it's probably going to go at least 6, maybe 7. Yeah, I'm going to say Ducks in 6. I think Detroit, Detroit's still, they're solid back there, but they don't have Lidstrom. And, you can't replace a guy like Nick Lidstrom. It's just impossible. Just ask Ken Holland. I'm sure he's tried. Oh yeah, I'm going to call that one Ducks in 6. Don't let me have the computer on just because I can't remember any stats or anything, because I'm a dumbass. Now 3-6. Got the Canucks and the Sharks. 2 perennial playoff disappointments. And this is 2 rather evenly matched teams on the whole. Scored about the same amount of goals. Detroit scored 6 fewer goals and gave up 1 more. That's not a big deal to me. Penalty killing. Canucks are Sharks are just a little better. It's 85 to 84%. However, Sharks power play has been a lot better. Seriously, almost. It's 20 to 20.1 to 15.8. Sharks power play has been pretty good this year. Also, they have the advantage of consistency in net. Auntie Nami's been fantastic for them this year. And barring injury, he's the goalie. As opposed to the three-ring circus that is the Canucks crease. Will it be Schneider? Well, Schneider's the starter. But he has a bad game. Is Luongo back in? If he really, did a very bad job not resolving that. So I think the goaltending is a little unsettled there, and I'm never crazy about a team without a clearly defined number one. I know the Canucks are saying it's Schneider, but I think we'll see Luongo in more than mop-up duty. I really do. Up front? Hard not to like. Canucks are good at forward. But I don't think they're all that deep. Honestly, they've got a great top line with Sedins and Burrows. Roy and Kessler on the second line. Those third and fourth lines are, they're okay. Certainly not the worst I've ever seen, but they're not great. Defense, it's pretty much the same defense they've had. It's a pretty solid group, but unspectacular. Sharks defense, with Dan Boyle on there, I kind of like them more, just because he's a guy who can really break a game open from the blue line. Now, I don't think the Canucks really have that guy. Another advantage the Sharks have up front. They're a hell of a lot better at face-offs than the Canucks are. 53.4 to 47.6%. That's a pretty wide disparity. So, if the Sharks are going to be controlling the draws, especially on their power play, which is significantly better, Canucks could be in very big. If Canucks really have to keep this 5-on-5, or they're going to be in a world of hurt. And I'm kind of feeling an upset here. I'm going to say the Sharks in 6. Feel free to ignore my predictions all you want. I know my regular season ones. Not my finest hour as a hockey fan. Put it nicely. But I'm going to go with the Sharks in 6 here. I don't think the Canucks have any pronounced advantages over the Sharks. But I think the Sharks got a few big ones on the Canucks. So, it tells me I gotta go San Jose, and I'm going at 6. Finally, Blues and the Kings. Rematch of last year's second round Western Conference playoffs, where the Kings brushed aside the Blues in no time. Just flat out swept them. Definitely wouldn't expect that to happen this year. Especially because, once again, you have two very evenly matched teams, which would make sense in a 4-5 matchup. Now, the Blues do have home ice. Power plays are almost... The Kings are a couple of ticks better, not by much. Blues penalty killing is a little better than the Kings. Kings are a little better on the face-off circle. Really, I don't see any distinct advantages either way. That said, when in doubt, my tiebreaker is the guy in goal. I know Jonathan Quick's had an up and down year. Last year, if you look at his career path last year, bit of a fluke. But I do like Quick over Brian Elliott. I know Elliott's played a lot better lately, but last year in the playoffs, after Jarl Halak got hurt, he looked like the guy who'd gotten dumped by Ottawa and Colorado. So I'm not sure how confident I feel in him. I mean, granted, maybe they bring Halak off the bench. Maybe he plays like he's capable of. I mean, for a while, they had Jake Allen coming up from the minors and probably saved their season because he played very well when he was in. Kings, you know that if Quick's healthy, he's going to be in goal. That said, if something does happen to Quick, John Bernier has proven to be a very capable backup. So, I think the Kings have an advantage there. Definitely tempted to go the advantage is where I see them. Also, their back line is kind of dinged up from compared to last year. They're not quite as good. But I can't lie, I love the Kings up front. I really do. You know, those top two lines are terrifying. Especially if they catch lightning in a bottle like last season and Dustin Penner shows up for the playoffs. As opposed to the regular season, because they signed a 1-year deal and had another bad season. Wouldn't be surprised if he comes alive in the playoffs. Can't guarantee it, though. Blues have a solid but unspectacular forward core. Although Chris Stewart has been fantastic for them this year. And you have your usual suspects. Maybe you also get lucky and Vladimir Tarasenko recaptures his early season form in the playoffs. It should be a very scary thing for the Western Conference because that first couple of weeks he was just on fire. Really, Got to give the Blues the advantage on defense, though. Especially after adding Jay Bouwmeester, who will finally get to play some playoff hockey. After stints in Florida and Colorado, Florida and Calgary, two teams not known for playoff hockey ever. Yeah. And this time they will have Alex Pietrangelo for the playoffs. Last year he missed... I think he missed all of the playoffs, or at least most of them. This time, he'll be out there for them. So I'm giving the Blues definite advantage on defense. I like the Kings. I think the Kings are deeper up front. I like them a little better in goal. So, yeah, I'm going to call this one a Kings in 7. Yeah, I think they can win a 7th game in St. Louis. Anyway, that's the Western Conference preview. This is Kyle Huckins for Hucks on Pucks. Take off, eh?